It's the Writers Roundtable, and we've got a great show for you tonight. Matt, what are we going to be talking about this evening?
We got a lot of smoke screens going on in the NFL. It is officially smoke screen season, so we're going to be talking about a lot of those in a buy or sell edition of Writers Roundtable. We got Jack Cavanagh and Aditya Fuldeore on the show today to talk about odds makers having no idea who's going number one. Big media suggesting that the NFL may not be fond of the 2023 receiver class. The Lamar Jackson saga is taking an interesting turn. We'll talk about that. And Elijah Moore, is he back from the grave? Plus, we'll do a little bit of rookie running back talk at the end of the show.
I can't wait. Let's start the show right now. Hello, gentlemen, and Jack Cavanagh is in the wrong spot. There we go. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for coming on the roundtable tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, the pleasure is all ours. Always a pleasure. Even though we had our differences last night, even though you've been a little bit slanderous, even though you somehow convinced the audience to vote for you, I think I am being unfairly punished for taking that 101. It's not my fault that I got handed Bijan Robinson. I am being punished, but I will let all of that go for tonight. I will be a good guest, so thank you.
All right. If you don't know, if you're not aware, in the community section on YouTube, you should get involved there if you're not already. We have these votes, right, where we go on Mock Draft Live, and then you can vote for who you think won the draft. Well, Jack and I had a draft on yesterday, and, well, I was the winner so far. 60% to 40%, so I'm going to claim victory.
I mean, 59% to 41%. Don't overstate it.
All right. Well, I was rounding up, and I'm not good with numbers. But you get the point. I was the winner so far. I guess, I mean, it could change. I don't know how far we want to take it over a year or whatever. But, well, anyway, I'm claiming victory. So tonight on the show, we're going to kick it off with this question. He's in the thumbnail. Elijah Moore, right? He's gotten this change of scenery. Some people think that it's the scenery change that he's needed, right? Get him out of New York, take him somewhere else. Aditya, do you think that we are buying or selling the fact that Elijah Moore has already taken over Donovan Peoples-Jones and will return to fantasy relevance in 2023?
So I'm selling that he's taken over Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he will return to fantasy relevancy, but I don't think he's taken over DPJ just yet. Peoples-Jones had a 19% target share last season. Behind Amari Cooper, he was a key target for that Cleveland offense. And Elijah Moore, while he comes in, he's got that draft pedigree, still a couple of years removed from that. He will get some sort of fantasy movement, and I think if in Dynasty we see him get, say, like 6 targets in 3 games, Dynasty owners might be like, oh, it's time to sell him. In that case, you want to buy him because it's going to take him some time to take some of those targets away from a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's earned that high target share in that high place in that Cleveland offense. So I'm selling the fact that Elijah Moore has passed DPJ, but I do think that he will have a return to some sort of fantasy relevancy this season.
What do you think, Jack? Is Elijah Moore back, or are we going to have to wait a little bit?
Well, he's going to be back for some weeks. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 for some weeks. He'll have some wide receiver 1 weeks for the Cleveland Browns. But so will Donovan Peoples-Jones. And so will David Njoku. And then Amari Cooper is still there feasting on bad cornerbacks. It'll be those weeks where Amari Cooper faces a cornerback 1, then someone else is going to eat, and it's going to rotate. And I know we hate the cliche, better in a best ball, but that's what we're looking at in the Cleveland Browns. You are not going to be able to start David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Elijah Moore consistently every week. It's going to be, it's not a coin flip because there's 3 sides to this coin, but it's going to be a triangle flip amongst these guys for who's going to be the producer. So yeah, he's going to be irrelevant, but no, he's not fully passing Peoples-Jones, and it's going to be a headache. I'm not excited about this. I know everyone thinks it's going to be a high volume passing game all of a sudden, but it's not going to be that high fly and high saluting where we get 3 stable pass catchers every week.
Yeah, I think those are both very good ways to look at it. I think Elijah Moore has more talent than either of you are giving him credit for. However, although it's been since his rookie season, he checked all the boxes as a prospect. He had a 48% route win rate. I can always get tripped up on that one. Number 9 in the NFL, 26% dominator rating as a rookie. And then a lot of tension in the locker room. I get it. He didn't play very well last season either. So there is a chance that was a flash in the pan and he doesn't truly have that talent. But he at least showed some sort of talent, whereas Donovan Peoples-Jones has never proven, he's never really shown any type of skill besides tall guy, run fast, down the field, catch ball. It's Gabe Davis-esque. So you're right that there's not really going to be a stable producer outside of Amari Cooper. I do think Elijah Moore is going to be the secondary target in this offense if the Browns escape the draft without using any of their draft capital on a receiver. Is
there a receiver that you think would pass Elijah Moore? Because they don't have a first round pick. Is there any guy that can go in round 2 that you think actually would hurt him?
Well, they don't have a second round pick either. So
exactly. So he's automatically escaped the draft.
Do we think a guy like Trey Palmer makes it into the 3rd round?
He hurts Donovan Peoples-Jones, though. He doesn't hurt Elijah Moore. That sends DPJ to the bench, and he's the one running wind sprints.
Right, it sends DPJ to the bench, but if there's a DPJ replacement who's better at football at DPJ, that is naturally going to take targets away. He's not going to lose playing time, but his target rate will go down, and his target share will go down.
A
Seth,
little bit.
Talk to us.
I was thinking about this today, and this, I don't know. Like, I was thinking, he was wide receiver, Elijah Moore, wide receiver 28 in his rookie season. And 2022 was a weird season. We all know how it went down with the Jets. And so when I was looking at how wide receivers have played with Deshaun Watson, you're going to have to humor me here for a minute. But Will Fuller, now not the same player, right? Will Fuller was great at running deep routes down the field. Elijah Moore, a little bit different player, but can do some of the similar things that Will Fuller could do. I looked at Will Fuller as a wide receiver 2 in Houston, paired up with Hopkins, and he was the wide receiver 8 in fantasy points per game. He only played in 11 games in 2020. But so the possibility is there for 2 receivers to be productive in that offense. And Watson, it's not like he had a ton of pass attempts. I mean, he was top 10 in pass attempts, number 10 in pass attempts. But Watson's always been a guy that likes to throw the ball down the field, too. So he was number 1 in yards per attempt that season, and he's, aside from last year, the lowest he ranked was number 11 in that category. So I'm intrigued by this offense, but the Browns are going to have to prove to me that they're going to throw the ball as much as it's needed to sustain 2 wide receivers, because they only threw the ball like 25th in the NFL last year. So I'm intrigued by Elijah Moore, his talent profile, his age. He's not even 23 years old yet. But my instincts in Dynasty tell me to sell, because the buying window was before this all happened, and now his value shot up. So I want you guys to tell me this. I use the trade finder on playerprofiler.com. So I have 3 trades, and I want you guys to tell me which one you like better. Some of them are obvious. Like I have a purpose to this. Elijah Moore or a 2024 second-round rookie pick?
Give me Elijah Moore. There's more certainty in that. I know we're always looking at next year's class, and next year's class is actually going to be really good, but give me Elijah Moore. Give me the proven asset rather than next year's. I don't even know who's a player going in the second round. Next year's Michael Mayer.
I agree with you. I would take Elijah
I agree
Moore
with that
there,
as well.
And I'm seeing, so we're all taking Elijah Moore. Next trade, Travis Etienne and Elijah Moore for Debo in a 2024 first.
Ooh, I think I take Debo in the first.
I'm taking, give me Debo in the first.
DT?
I gotta say, I think ETN and Moore might have the edge for me here, primarily because of ETN. I think he's really got that potential, that ceiling to meet in Dynasty. And Elijah Moore, like we all said, he's got some sort of value in Dynasty, especially. And I think Debo, he's still going to be relevant for a while, but I like the running back in ETN, and I think Elijah Moore will have enough value to meet and exceed that value of Debo in the first.
I think we need a little bit more information about the league. Is it Superflex?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
It is Superflex tight end premium. I can tell you that.
Superflex tight end premium. What first was it again?
2024 first.
2024 first.
So we don't know what it's going to be. I think to me it depends on your team. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but if you're a contending team, I don't see why the Debo in the 2024 first. I feel like that's fine. Getting that back, I feel like it's pretty fair, honestly. I haven't plugged it into the trade calculator yet, but just looking at it, it feels fair to me. Taking a chance on Elijah Moore. This feels like a rebuilding team and a contending team made a trade to me.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
which it could work out really well for both of them if that's the case. Last trade, Elijah Moore. Again, remember, this is a tight end premium league. Elijah Moore, the 303, a 2024 first for George Kittle.
I am bad with the tight end premium values. Does anyone have a strong tank here?
I feel like it's a hot take, but I'm taking Elijah Moore the third and the first.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
And I'm not
Yeah.
particularly thinking too much about it, really.
Yeah, well, see,
No.
that's I will admit one of my probably my greatest weakness as a fantasy analyst is tight end premium. So I can't speak for sure, but my heart and head say yes, you should trade that and not have George Kittle.
Yeah, I think getting that first back especially would be, again, tight end premium. Maybe you consider Kittle, but he's not like Kelsey, and I don't think he's even at the level of Andrews. So in that case, you got to go the Moore side.
Yeah. So just kind of going through these trades and seeing what's out there. I kind of think he's a buy, like just based on what I'm seeing on the trade finder. So it's interesting because you go into something thinking, like I went in thinking, ooh, my instincts tell me he's probably a sell. And then you see what trades are out there. You're like, well, maybe I should be buying him. You know, it just depends on where the marketplace is. And I feel like this is what good Dynasty players do. So this is a really good exercise to go through with Elijah Moore. But Matt, I think the Ravens did something this week, didn't they?
The Ravens did something this week, and when I was honored to come on Jack Cavanagh's player profiler today, and we talked about how it'd be very likely for the Baltimore Ravens to do something stupid at the receiver position. It wasn't quite what we were talking about, but they did it. They signed Odell Beckham Jr. to a 1-year deal worth up to $18 million, 15 of which is guaranteed. Reports are, including from Jack Cavanagh, that Lamar personally recruited Odell Beckham to Baltimore. So we'll start with Jack. Buy or sell, this signing signals that Lamar Jackson is returning to Baltimore and either playing on the transition tag or signing a long-term extension.
See, I think it's neither of those, but yes, he is
Or a
returning.
1-year deal. One-year deal.
Yeah, he's going to sign a 1-year deal. The Ravens are going to give him enough guaranteed money to say, hey, no other team has come calling. You know that no one else is going to. Let's sign you to a 1-year deal, because then if they franchise tag him again next year, then that percentage goes on to this year's deal. So it's not like he's getting screwed with a second franchise tag that's the same as the first. It will go up as well. So I think that's ultimately what will happen. Lamar Jackson is all about big truz. Big truz. He's not going to leave his boy hanging. Lamar Jackson is not the type of man to say, hey, man, come play with me. You got to come play with me. I'd love to work with you. Ooh, sorry, man. I'm out of here. He's not that kind of guy. So I truly believe the fact that they recruited him with Lamar's help, that tells us that he is going to stay. And Matt, I will say when it comes to stupid, I don't think this is necessarily a stupid move. It is an overpay, absolutely. But we talked about for years how Aaron Rodgers, the Packers are doing him dirty. They should listen to him. They should draft players he wants. They should sign players that he wants. Shouldn't we say, okay, you've listened to your quarterback. You got the guy they wanted. I know you overpaid, but the relationship value could that be worth it? Because it's the same with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. The debate between Penei Sewell and Chase, was that a mistake? We know it wasn't, but at the time, my final takeaway was they made Joe Burrow happy, and isn't that worth more than the monetary amount?
In Econ 251, I didn't take a lot out of it. Shout out to Kelly Blanchard. I learned one thing though, is that there's a happiness cost to every transaction. And if that happiness cost outweighs the cost of doing something, then you have justified the transaction. So when you put it in that way, you're following right with how academics think about econ, where if Lamar Jackson's happiness value goes up by $19 million, then we made a good move. So that's a great point, Jack. When we put it through that lens, when we put it through an economical lens, it's actually a great move to sign Odell Beckham. So you flip me. I'm on board. Aditya, what do we think?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Jack here. I think I'm buying that Lamar is playing, and I think he actually ends up playing on the tag in this case. The way that Odell's contract is set up is that they have void years on his contract. It's something like 3-point-something million for this year, and then void years for the next few years. So he's going to have an $11 million cap hit next season if they don't extend him. So I think what Lamar ends up doing is he signs that transition tag. He plays with Odell this year, and if it works out, it works out. Odell signs an extension, Lamar signs an extension, and all is good for the next few years for the Ravens. If it doesn't go well, doesn't work out, then Lamar's back on the market next year. Ravens have to do something with Odell's cap hit on their hands. And I think that Lamar's kind of thought this through because he recruited Odell to Baltimore. And now you have Odell, you have Rashad Bateman. Maybe they pursue someone in the draft as well. But I just think signing Odell in this case was not a very, when you think of the Baltimore Ravens organization, this isn't a move that they typically make. So that's what makes me think Lamar's coming back, and it's going to be a one-year type thing because of how that contract is structured and that cap hit is.
I find this whole situation just fascinating because I don't know, like former MVP quarterbacks that are young going into a contract year typically get re-signed, right? I mean, it's fascinating to me that apparently, from what I know, from what I've read, from what I understand, like a lot of teams are going, 2 first-round picks. I don't know about that. Which to me, it feels like a slam dunk for Detroit. I don't know if some teams are waiting potentially till after the draft, but yeah, I can't help but agree that Odell signing him is a good sign that, yeah, I mean, I'm guessing Odell's not going to come play with Tyler Huntley or whatever quarterback you can take in the draft. I mean, it just makes so much sense that Lamar is going to come back and play with an Odell. Now, Odell hasn't played in about a year and a half since he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, right? So it's going to be fascinating to see how he plays in his age 30 season. That's going to be a fascinating thing to monitor. I'm intrigued by this whole situation. I think it's one of the more, I keep using the word fascinating stories in the NFL. One, because it didn't seem like too many people were interested in Lamar, which baffles me. And now he's with Odell Beckham. So color me intrigued, but I don't know if it's going to mean much for Odell. I mean, this team loves to run the ball, so let's not hope, if Odell's value goes up too much, let's kind of pump the brakes on that. But I think if you have Odell in Dynasty, now's a great time to trade him. That's just my takeaway from this on a Dynasty perspective. But yeah, what do you guys think? Is it time to sell Odell? Do you agree?
It depends. I hate to give that answer, but we thought Elijah Moore was a sell until we realized he wasn't. So I would have to look at some of the trades that are being put out for him.
Yeah.
But do you think he makes it out of the draft? Do you think Baltimore makes it out of the draft without selecting anybody? Because Zay Flowers was just mocked, or was recently mocked there by somebody, I believe.
Cody I know this is an older mock draft, and Cody has a new mock draft coming out here soon. Cody originally mocked JSN to him. Now that's probably changed, but if I had to guess, but he had JSN slipping that far, so could be because coming out of the combine, he heard a lot about Jordan Addison, is what he said, being the number 1 wide receiver taken. So that would be interesting if JSN is sitting on the board for Baltimore. I think you probably have to take JSN, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Odell's definitely more of a 1-year like redraft type target for this season rather than a long-term dynasty type deal, because if Baltimore goes the way of taking a receiver in the first or even the third round, it's going to be that guy that gets more targets in year 2, year 3, rather than Odell, who may not even be here in those years. And who knows what happens. He's already past 30 years old, 2 ACLs. I think this season, the whole like Lamar recruiting him thing will get him targets and all that. But past this season, like if you're not contending this season, you probably don't want too much of Odell on your roster.
I mean,
So-
realistically, how many like 7-8 target games do we think he's going to get in that offense if Bateman and Andrews are active? Because if he's getting 6 or less targets in a game in the Ravens offense, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole in fantasy football. I'll let anyone else.
Yeah.
I'll let anyone else take the risk.
Yeah, because they're probably going to be bottom 3rd in the NFL in pass attempts. So yeah, I'm going to avoid a cliche and say that there's only so much grass in the lawn, or whatever. So yeah, you're absolutely right though. This is a team that loves to run the ball. J.K. Dobbins, man, I think is going to have a bounce back year, but
It's a much better real life move than a fantasy move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's well said.
No doubt about that.
So from wide receivers to rookie quarterbacks, here we go. Oh my gosh, the Carolina Panthers. Oh man, the odds have changed according to Yahoo Sports. This article. Now the odds are kind of all over the place, but C.J. Stroud was recently a massive favorite. We all thought it was C.J. Stroud, and now apparently it's Bryce Young. So are we buying or selling the rapid shift in the odds that shows that Bryce Young is now the favorite to be the first quarterback drafted at Aditya? What do you think?
I'm gonna sell that Bryce Young is the favorite, or the guy that the Panthers are looking at, mainly because I believe that the moment that they traded up to the first overall pick, they knew who they were going to take. So everything else is smokescreen. And the moment they moved up, CJ Stroud's odds went up. Anthony Richardson odds went up as well. So I don't think it'll be Bryce Young with Carolina. I think it's either Stroud or Richardson. I know there's been a lot of debate about which one of those 3 guys do you take first overall, because Richardson might have the highest ceiling out of the 3, but he also probably has the lowest floor. So how much risk versus reward is Carolina weighing there? But I think Carolina knows who they're going to take, but the market really doesn't know all that much. It's a lot of speculation, a lot of smoke screens being thrown out there. So I am going to say that I think that they go with CJ Stroud still at that number 1 overall pick. And we'll see what happens with Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. I think there's a lot of movement in that top 4. So a lot of rumors going around, but I think Panthers stick with Stroud.
What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think pretty much exactly what Aditya said. Hold the line now that you can get CJ Stroud at plus odds instead of negative odds. Because when it first happened, when the shift first happened, it was CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. They both had negative odds. Now CJ Stroud has gone into the positive. Bet on him to go 101 because, yes, they traded up with a quarterback in mind. They had plans to take CJ Stroud. And the funniest thing is these odds shift because Bryce Young is there visiting the Panthers. But CJ Stroud is about to visit the Panthers. So are these odds going to shift again when CJ Stroud is in the building with Carolina? Because we know Josh McCown loves him. And the thing that gets me the most is the same day that the hype started that it was going to be Bryce Young, we also got a report that Frank Reich, if it was his decision, it would be Anthony Richardson. So yes, this is all smoke screens from all sorts of different angles. Aditya hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean, do the odds makers have any idea what's going on right now? I've never seen. Granted, I've only been paying attention to draft odds for a few years now, but I haven't seen this much confusion over a number one pick in terms of the sports books, and I think my 3-year history of gambling. It seems that it's super easy to tell, and in fact, we agree here yet again on another prompt that CJ Stroud is the number one pick, and yet somehow these fake meetings and these fake press releases and everything, all this doing their homework stuff that we're pushing right through, not everyone's reading it the same way. So it's really interesting right now, the fact that this is divisive when it really, really, really feels like it shouldn't be. CJ Stroud should be the number one pick. He's the best fit for that offense. He's the most ready to take over that scheme. And I'm selling that Bryce Young is going to be the number one pick. I'm buying that the odds makers are kind of lost right now. And like Jack said, now's the time to hold the line. If you can get them at plus odds, you hit the button. You don't think twice.
The only way I can see this all being wrong, the only way we're wrong that Bryce Young goes 101 is if the Carolina Panthers smokescreen fools the Houston Texans, they trade up and take Bryce Young. That's the only way and then CJ Stroud still goes to the Panthers.
If that's the case, then the sports books actually know so much that we can never possibly compete.
Wow. Yeah, that would, the Mitchell Trubisky all over again. Well, I don't know if Bryce Young would be is comparable to Mitchell Trubisky. I wouldn't do that to anybody, not even my worst enemy. No offense to Mitch. But sorry, Mitch. I think I just took a dump all over Mitch Trubisky. But anywho, the future quarterback for the Montreal Alouettes, or the St. Louis Battlehawks, one of those two. But anywho, this is crazy. I think you guys are right, but humor me for a second. I mean, we do kind of is David Tepper kind of, potentially this next owner who's meddles a little bit too much in the football and probably needs to leave his football guys in charge of football stuff?
1,000%.
Yes.
Okay, I just also think he's still like CJ Stroud.
Okay, so I'm going to stir the pot a little bit, all right? I'm going to stir it. Is it possible that they trade up for, number one with a plan, right? Like a competent organization does, because you don't trade up to number one without a guy in mind. I completely agree. You'd be crazy to do that, to trade up without a guy in mind. You figure it out? Oh, we'll figure it out. But then David Tepper starts watching Bryce Young, and he goes, man, this guy was pretty good at Alabama. Hey, Frank, come in here. You got to check out this quarterback from Alabama. Is it possible? I don't know how these rooms work, but we did have not too long ago Jim Irsay saying, "Oh yeah, we really like Bryce Young. We trade, So I don't know. Is that crazy to think like that? Maybe that's where these reports are coming from. And if you're super tied in with that organization, maybe David Tepper is as temperamental. Temperamental. That's a lot of temper.
That's a lot of temperament right there.
That's a lot of
to
temperament
deal with.
Is what it is. Yeah. So
I think
you
just blew this wide open, and I think I solved the case.
Okay.
Get this. David Tepper, 5 feet 8 inches tall. You put the puzzle pieces together from there.
We love a short king.
He said short kings stay together. We are going to go Bryce Young.
Well, they should take Anthony Richardson is what they should do. But anyway, that's just my hot take. Go big or go home, baby. Go big or go home.
Speaking of going big and going home, the reports that this year's wide receiver class is not worthy of multiple draft picks in the first round is a going big take. I think those reporters should go home because it sounds to me like a lot of hoopla, but Jack Cavanagh, are we buying or selling that JSN is the only receiver in the 2023 class that's worth a first round draft pick and is going to be drafted in the first round?
See, this is the funny thing is the original story has already become so twisted. The original story was multiple teams have only Jackson Smith and Jigba as a first round grade. That does not mean that every team thinks that only Jackson Smith and Jigba is worth a first round. It means that he's the only prospect that every team agrees is worth a first rounder. But there will be teams that have Zay Flowers as their first wide receiver on the board. There will be teams that have Quentin Johnston. There will be teams that have Jordan Addison. There will be teams that have Jalen Hyatt. So, yes, it's true that some teams only think Jackson Smith and Jigba is worth a first rounder, but it's also true that we're going to get multiple receivers drafted in the first round. I mean, look at last year. Look at the trade up, the desperation to trade up for Jameson Williams. And this is objectively a worse wide receiver class, but teams love playmakers. And so at least Zay Flowers is going to go round one. I think Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston do too. Maybe they fall, but at the very minimum, there will be 2 wide receivers drafted first round. And there could be 5 because Jalen Hyatt could go first round too.
Yeah, I gotta agree on that. I'm selling that there's only one wide receiver that's getting taken in the first, just because wide receiver is a premium position and teams need wide receivers. So there will be teams that are looking to take wide receivers, even if it's a guy like we keep hitting on Jalen Hyatt or like Josh Downs, who are guys maybe more fit to go in the mid to late second round, but might sneak into that late first round because teams don't want to risk it and not getting their guy or not getting a good wide receiver. In the last couple of years, we've seen 6, 7, 8 wide receivers. I think average has been around 7 the last 2 to 3 years. I think this year we'll see 3 to 4, maybe 5 wide receivers get taken in the first, even if not all of them are deserving of it, just because that's a premium position in the NFL and teams need those wide receivers. And teams like the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Vikings, all at the end of that first round could all swoop in and take those guys up one by one.
Completely agree. The wide receiver position is too important to an NFL offense these days, and the position is, I mean, we not so much this year, but last year, I mean, with the Christian Kirk contract, you see the kind of emphasis they put on that position, so I couldn't agree with you more. I think you could even see, like you said, Aditya, I was going to mention that too, those receivers at the back end of or those teams rather, at the back end of the first round, those teams are the ones that I could see pushing wide receivers into the first round because, like you said, the Bills, the Chiefs have a Juju Smith-Schuster hole to fill and a McCole Hardman hole to fill, and they haven't really filled it, to be honest. Like I think they signed Richie James, but I don't know if that fills the hole or not. So yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see. I think Jack said it. I think Jalen Hyatt has the best chance out of all these receivers to sneak into that first round who maybe shouldn't, and just because of the big play potential he has, and that would be really intriguing if one of these teams like a Kansas City or a Minnesota or Buffalo scooped him up. I think we would see that dynasty value skyrocket if that happened. But Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was already covered for me pretty much. I would be very surprised if Zay Flowers made it outside of the first round. The hype's increasing daily, and teams know that he's the real deal. The fantasy community's been saying it for a long time, and finally the NFL draft hype kind of caught up to him. And I'd be very surprised if him and Jordan Addison escaped the first round at this point after what I've seen with some of these mock drafts. I agree with what Jack said a lot, and I want to take a similar stance, but tinfoil hat it a little bit. I'm going to give an example of some teams that I think might be sending in reports that JSN is the only first-round receiver. The Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Green Bay Packers, any other team that needs a receiver and says, please, we're picking near the back end of the first round. We want the maximum chance of getting our guy on our roster. So let's see if we can try and leak some stuff that gets the value of the receiver class down a little bit. And maybe we get ourselves Jordan Addison 5 picks later. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think that might be, there's a very real chance that there are actual teams that think that through that strategy.
Hey, I mean, you can't, like I say, like when you're playing a game, like a board game with your buddies, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You ain't trying.
Right? You ain't
Amen.
trying, baby. So, I mean, the worst that happens is what? I mean, nothing happens. The same thing that happened was going to happen anyway. So, yeah, I could see it. But yeah, so we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and watching. We would urge you, if you like what you're seeing, click the like button and show us that you like it. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. We're trying to dial up the professionalism on these YouTube channels, on these podcasts. So real quick break. It's going to tell you about a thing that we're really excited about, which is Cody Carpentier spearheaded this project. The Rookie Guide is now available. So the Podfather is going to tell you about the Rookie Guide. But stay tuned because we have some rookie running back rapid fire questions for the guys and bold predictions right after this.
Oh, I'm wearing Cody's hat in honor of Cody Carpentier. He has finished the Rookie Guide. It is a masterpiece, the best rookie guide you will read that combines both real NFL draft analysis and fantasy analysis. This guy goes deep. I mean, do you know who Tyon Evans is? This man wrote up and ranked 40 running backs, 40 wide receivers, 15 quarterbacks, and 23 tight ends. 23 tight ends? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. We've got fantasy rookie draft cheat sheets for Superflex and single quarterback to go along with these write-ups that include analytics player comps and play style player comps. All the stats you need, the analysis you need to understand what kind of impact these guys are going to have in the NFL and for your fantasy team. So go to playerprofiler.com, go to any player page, go to the NFL draft section, and click the button to get the rookie guide. It's just $10. That's it. That's all. It's not the most expensive, but it is the best.
All right, we are back. Thanks for sticking in there with us. The last thing we're gonna talk about before the bold predictions is the rookie running backs, and we got some of these questions tied up or dialed up for the guys. The first one, again, with the buy or sell format, Roschon Johnson is the rookie RB2 in fantasy this season, Aditya?
I'm gonna sell that because as great as he is, as highly as the underworld thinks of him, I don't think he gets the combination of draft capital and team fit in order to reach that rookie RB2 this season. Obviously, Bijan is number one, and then you have that combination: Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet, maybe Tyjae Spears sneaks in there. But I don't think Roschon Johnson just yet this season becomes that rookie RB2.
Oh, Jag, I think you're muted.
Good.
I was muted. I was muted from the commercial break. My apologies. I don't want to say it's impossible, but I will say it's not probable. And I know who exactly is hyping that he could be the RB2, rookie RB2. I have an idea, but it's possible. Because if he goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, then yeah, I will smash that. However, I think it's more likely that the Bengals get one of the top three, either Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Zach Charbonnet. And so I've got him at 4. I've got Roschon at 4. But based on landing spot, he could end up as high as 2. There's just no way he ends up as 1 because Bijan is just a god amongst men.
All right, I will admit, I got a little crazy yesterday. Got a little crazy in mock draft live. I was feeling the energy.
Are you drinking the same pre-workout that Cody Carpentier is drinking? Is that what's going on here?
Believe me, if I had pre-workout, there is already too much going on. I don't need. You'll send me out on a stretcher, a cardiac arrest. My heart does not need any stimulants. I dialed it back in the show sheet, and I forgot to let you guys know, but I did dial it back and say top 3 rookie running back this season. Now, Cody's mock is a while ago, but I think these are some interesting landing spots. So let's say I'm going to dial it back, and we'll send it right back around. Let's say these landing spots from Cody's mock 4.0 happen. Top 3 rookie running back this season: Johnson in Arizona, Charbonnet at the Giants, and Jahmyr Gibbs in Chicago.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably 3 behind Jahmyr Gibbs in Chicago, even though Jahmyr Gibbs isn't going to get a ton of targets in Chicago. I'd still say, because James Conner is there, and I think by the end of the season, Roschon passes him, but over the course of it, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think he's more likely to be the 3rd one. I think he would have a chance to be the 2nd one if there's some sort of injury thing with James Conner. He's had his past with injuries, but as it is now, I would still put him at 3 among those running backs.
I think I would too, but that landing spot for Gibbs is very intriguing because Jack mentioned it. The passing volume in Chicago would be kind of questionable for Gibbs. I assume the Bears are going to dial up the pass this year a little bit, but even if they crank it up some, they're still probably going to be in the bottom half in pass attempts, I would assume, and that's probably bad for Gibbs right out the bat. Now, he would be the best running back out of those 3, better than Herbert. I believe that. But yeah, I think Johnson has a chance in that scenario to be the RB2, but I'd probably put him at RB3. And I don't love it because I love Roschon Johnson, but Matt, I have a feeling you're going to argue for maybe higher than that.
In Arizona, if Kyler Murray sticks around, and reports are that Kyler Murray's doing pretty well in recovery right now. He was squatting about 300 pounds. We had some very highly esteemed PT docs that say that his squat movement looked very good and that he looks like he's progressing very well. So if that's the case and Kyler's committed to coming back and playing this season and Roschon Johnson lands in Arizona, I'm pretty excited because James Conner was seeing some pretty significant targets in Arizona, some meaningful targets, as well as a lot of goal line work. So that's going to stay, and that's going to be the issue for Roschon is getting over that goal line. And, he's going to be his Zeke. But I think I'm going to go with Gibbs still at RB2 this season because Roschon probably takes a little bit more of a backseat to James Conner than we would like in all reality, as much as we're going to push the Roschon narrative, as much as I want to push the Roschon narrative. In reality, he'll probably lose some of those high value touches, and Jahmyr Gibbs won't really have his backfield competition's Khalil Herbert, who's solid but unproven, little investment in that asset. So I'm very tempted. It's close. I'm still going to go 3 for Roschon Johnson. In Dynasty, in this class, I want to make it known. I made it very clear in my draft last night, in my mock draft last night, but it's Roschon Johnson over Zach Charbonnet in Dynasty. I'll fight tooth and nail on it.
And Charbonnet, if he landed with the Giants, that would just nuke his value.
Yeah, it would.
It'd be great for next year because it'd be clear Saquon's gone, but it would destroy him for this year.
Yep.
The most interesting thing about it, and I know Cody's mock is still from a month ago, but Cincinnati and Philly don't really go for one of these upper echelon running backs. And I think that's still more likely than we think. I don't know. It feels too easy for them to load up at running back, although, you can say it's a smart decision. But it just would be, it's interesting to think about, at least talk about the reality where we're not, kind of mocking these big ticket teams to be taking these big ticket running backs. We got to talk about, the other realities out there, in the multiverse.
Yeah. I mean, Theo kind of talked about it on the Sonic Truth podcast, but you look at the end of round 2 and it's just, I think he described it as murderer's row for running back landing spots, starting with Miami at pick 52. Heck, maybe even Tampa Bay at 51. I mean, the Bears have 2 picks in that range. I doubt if they'd take a running back because they brought on Foreman, but, Los Angeles Chargers, Jacksonville, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, Buffalo Bills, Bengals. That would be sweet if a running back we liked, like Roschon, landed there. Eagles and the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they haven't signed Jerick McKinnon yet, have they?
They have not. He tweeted that he's being disrespected, and
Oh,
I think a lot of running backs that are older in the NFL are getting a little bit disrespected. I think Leonard Fournette's probably regretting asking to be cut because he's not making what he was making with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
yeah, it could be. NFL teams are always looking for that. The third round running backs. I mean, they can just draft one in the third round and it'll be serviceable enough. All right, Matt. It is.
Yeah,
go for it.
Speaking of running backs that might get drafted by the Miami Dolphins, Tyjae Spears has made quite a name for himself throughout the Senior Bowl and NFL draft process. Will his pass catching ability and dynamism that everyone is getting very excited about, will that make him a fringe RB3 or better this season? So top 36 in fantasy football and PPR leagues.
What do you think, Jack?
Jack Cavanagh.
I want to buy it. I really want to buy it. If he lands somewhere like the Miami Dolphins, especially because Mike McDaniels has proven that he doesn't care about size. And not that Tyjae Spears is small. He's above 200 pounds. He's above that Jahmyr Gibbs threshold. Red mark for Jahmyr Gibbs because he's not 200 pounds. Hate those kind of analysts. But Tyjae Spears, he's above 200 pounds. A team like Miami would just run him into the ground. And if he lands in the right place, the PPR upside is incredible as well. So I'm a big fan. Of course, if the draft doesn't go his way, we reserve the right to change our mind. But as a pure talent and just in general, at some point, Tyjae Spears is going to be an RB, not 3, but an RB2 in the NFL. I think he'll be an RB3 this season, hopefully. But at some point, he's got RB2 upside, probably not RB1 upside, but the receiving skills makes it so it's not impossible that he could ever become an RB1.
Yeah, I love Tyjae Spears. He's one of my favorite running backs in this class. He's got that perfect combination of just being able to run right through the defense and also have those pass catching skills that make a running back really valuable in the PPR fantasy leagues. I think he's definitely got that top 36 potential. So I'm buying that he's a fringe RB3 or better this season. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 landing spots where I'd say he doesn't have that opportunity. And one of those being Baltimore and another one being like New York, only like with Saquon being there and all. But in all other situations, I can't see a situation where he wouldn't get that third down pass catching role for a team, or be one of those guys that just gets funneled those check downs and different carries. He was 91st percentile in both burst score and college yards per carry. So he's got that for lack of a better word, burst. I know I just said burst score, but he's definitely one of my favorite backs to watch from this draft class, and I think he's easily fringe RB3 or better.
Can you imagine if he replaced Kareem Hunt in Cleveland? Oh, that just came to mind. The burst got me going.
That group, that all three of us going that ooh at the same time. I mean, that we're getting excited about it already. I think that might be a picture perfect landing spot for him.
That would be nice. That would be nice. I really like Tyjae Spears too. I feel like this is a consensus amongst the player profiler guys, and if he gets the Miami Dolphins landing spot or a landing spot like that, absolutely. I mean, absolutely, he's in the RB3 conversation, which is exactly why. I mean, I pulled him up right now. His ADP is kind of surprised. I mean, at 134 according to the FFPC, which is a little bit higher than some of the other running backs, but I think that tells you the FFPC is really sharp. And so they're probably projecting him to get better draft capital than a lot of people think. Like, in our mock draft index, I looked at it and I couldn't find Tyjae Spears, which tells me that some people will have him mocked really low, right? But I think he goes on day 2, and if he goes on day 2 and he gets the landing spot that we want him to get, I think he's got the talent. He's got, like you said, the size. He's got enough size, and he can catch passes out of the backfield.
Even if he doesn't go day 2, even if he goes early round 4, because round 4 is kind of the new round 3 when it comes to running back. I'm still okay if he goes early day 3 in that 4th round. That's just the new NFL with running backs. So I think we're going to be excited about Tyjae Spears when all is said and done.
Damian Pierce territory then. Yeah.
Can we trademark 4th round as the new 3rd round for running backs? I love that.
We're going to clip it.
Yeah, just start buying all the 4th round running backs just because it's the 3rd round now. It's just they're automatically the 3rd round. 3rd round's the new smoking. You just avoid 3rd round running backs. Looking at the Dolphins backfield, so Jeff Wilson was an RB 32 in fantasy points per game. So when you look at the role that he could potentially kind of go into, he'd probably get a little less than he wouldn't get 11 carries per game his rookie year, but he'd have more of a passing role. But when you think about the level of opportunity that he can step into in his rookie year, running back 3 seems pretty achievable. I was kind of surprised that all 4 of us agreed here. I thought somebody would sell it, but Spears is a friend of the program essentially at this point, so I can't be too shocked. Maybe this next rapid fire will split us up, Seth.
Oh man, we'll see. I won't give away my position before, but anyway, Israel Abanikanda, maybe the best name in the draft. What do we think? Does he deserve day 2 draft capital? And do you think he's a top 5 running back in this class, Aditya?
So initially when I saw this question on the show sheet, I was like, well, you have your Gibbs, Charbonnet, obviously Bijan, Roschon Johnson, Tyjae Spears. How can he be top 5? And then I took a look at his deeper analytics, deeper profile. I was like, wait a second, this dude is extremely athletic, and he had some really excellent college production. He's had, I think, some of the best college production out of all the running backs in this draft class, outside of probably Bijan. And even then, he's one of the most athletic backs in the draft class as well. So I think initially I was a little bit hesitant to say to buy, but I think I'm gonna buy that he deserves that day 2 draft capital and is a top 5 back in this class. I think he has a good chance of taking that, of getting taken in the 3rd round, and maybe one of those teams that we were talking about that for landing spots like Miami picks him up, because just more and more as I looked into him, I was like, wait, does he catch passes? Yes, he catches passes. He does. He's athletic. He had excellent college production. He catches passes. I don't see how he doesn't deserve that day 2 draft capital.
Let's go. Absolutely love that. I think he's locked in to the top 5. I think if Kendre Miller had tested, then he maybe falls down to 6, probably falls down to 6. But because Kendre Miller does not test, the NFL will punish him too. And so Abanikanda will get better draft capital. But even still, that would make him a top 6 running back. And he could fall anywhere between that RB2 and that RB5 this season. Would anyone be shocked if he landed with the Miami Dolphins? He outperforms Jahmyr Gibbs in year 1. No, I don't think anyone would. People compare him to Tevin Coleman because he's got that home run speed, but he is a lot bigger than Tevin Coleman, better receiver than Tevin Coleman. So yeah, I'd lock him into that 5 slot. For me, at running back, Bijan obviously won. No one's disputing that. I don't think you can dispute Jahmyr Gibbs as the RB2. I just don't think you can. You can switch Charbonnet and Roschon at 3-4. I go Charbonnet, then Roschon. And then it's Abanikanda locked in at 5, and then it's another teardrop after that.
I love it. I don't even care that I'm not getting us to divide. I will sing praises of Israel Abanikanda from the rooftops. I've been mentioning him in this podcast for quite a few weeks now. He's really intrigued me throughout the entire draft process. And once we were able to put some workout metrics in the record books, it got a lot sweeter. I'm starting to get really, really hyped about Israel Abanikanda. He's 90th percentile or better in all three of his workout metrics: the 40-yard dash, 93rd percentile, 93rd speed score, and 97th percentile burst score. He's got all the athleticism. And despite being a junior, he's kind of like me. He was young as a junior, so he's not even 21 yet. Aaron Stewart said he can't even celebrate how awesome he is with an alcoholic beverage because he's not even 21 years old yet. So he's despite having 3 years in college, he's basically only had 2, but he has that extra experience while still being under 21 years old. I'm all in. I'm pushing the chips in this season.
Gosh, I hate to make this an agreement podcast because I don't like that, but let me just read you something from the rookie guide that you should go get, by the way, that's on playerprofiler.com. So it's Israel Abanikanda. And by the way, I don't know if I'm giving too much away by saying that he is the RB5 in the rookie guide. Running style is eerily similar to Melvin Gordon. High and tight. Some things aren't perfect. Vision choice and ability to change direction without hesitation. But there is high-end ability in his profile. And when you watch the tape, because I just completed a film study on this guy, and looking at all the metrics, because like, oh my God, what am I like? Why is this guy so low? Like, not that he's low for us, but for some people, he's a little bit lower on the rankings, right? Because he's got the size, he's got the speed and the burst, and then when you watch him play, it's like, oh my God, when things are blocked right, he's going to the house, scoring touchdowns. It's really, he's one of those players who just pops off the screen. Like, the athleticism matches what you're watching, and he passes the eye test for me. And these are my notes right here about this guy. I love this prospect in all caps, and I'm guessing another team will fall in love with him too. Like I said, he has a rare combination of speed, burst, and size. Dominated in college, and like I said, I noted what it said in the rookie guide, right? Like, sometimes he might need to work on his vision, but those are skills that can be improved with reps at the NFL level. I'm all in on Israel Abanikanda. Wow. Yeah.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels good. There's a PFF study or a PFF chart that I saw out in the Twitters today. Israel Abanikanda, I'm looking at it right now, that's why I'm looking down. Israel Abanikanda in his 3 seasons never surpassed a 65 run block rating. From the graph, it's not super detailed, but it looks like it's around 62.5 for basically all 3 of his seasons. That ranks 11th in this RB class, and most of these running backs were able to achieve a running back or a blocking grade of at least like 68. So lower percentile run blocking, upper percentile production and efficiency metrics. What does that tell you? The guy's good at football.
Where did this Banna hammock go to school, guys?
God. Pittsburgh.
The Pitt Panthers.
Playerprofiler.com.
He and Kenny Pickett were tearing
Player
it up.
page.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we can't thank you guys enough for coming on the show. We're going to give you time to plug your stuff, and when you're done plugging, give us a bold prediction, and we'll get you out of here. Aditya, we will start with you, my friend.
Yeah, currently I'm working on a series, Diamonds in the Rough, identifying some day 3 guys that are gonna pop on your screen in terms of analytics and production in college, and also guys that if they get the right situation landing spot, they'll be big hits like that Dameon Pierce in his 4th round last year, Isaiah Pacheco, Darnell Mooney, those kinds of guys taken on day 3. So working on that series, take a look out on Player Profiler for that. And I'm also going to be helping out a little bit on analyzing the rookie guide and helping make Cody's work well known. For not that it's not well known, but I know that a lot of people out there on the members of the underworld and player profiler really love the rookie guide, so trying to help out and make it more known.
Jack, what do you got to plug? What's your bowl? Oh, Aditya, what you got a bowl prediction?
Oh yeah. My bold prediction. I know we've been talking about a lot of rookie running backs throughout this show. So my bold prediction is on another rookie running back that we haven't talked about, Devin Achane. He is going to be a top 5, one of the first 5 running backs selected in the draft. And I think that it's going to be primarily because of his speed. A team is going to fall in love with his speed and his pass catching ability and take him over some of these guys that we talked about, maybe Spears or Abanikanda. Regardless of what we think about them, I think teams love speed, and he's got the speed and pass catching, and he's just another one of those guys that we didn't talk about on the show, but that's my bold prediction. I think he's one of the first 5 running backs selected.
Doesn't it, when I say the name Devin Achane, like, doesn't Kansas City just feel like where he's going to go?
Jerick McKinnon replacement, maybe.
Pick
CEH
64.
replacement, baby. Same bad pick. Let's do it again.
Yeah, but at least he's not going to go in the first round.
True.
No, yeah, he won't.
He'll just be
Jack.
overdrafted in fantasy.
Yeah. Jack, what do you got to plug? What's your bold prediction?
Follow me everywhere at Cavanagh87. You can see me more and more on TikTok at profiler_news. You can catch Player Profiler today 7 days a week at 7 p.m. And my bold prediction. Since Odell Beckham is not going to the New York Jets, they need another receiver because they've made it clear that Corey Davis isn't their guy, isn't who they want. They pursued Odell aggressively. They're fine with Corey Davis, but he's making $10.5 million. They can save all of that by moving on. And there's a certain wide receiver, a certain ex-wide receiver that would step right in to Corey Davis's shoes that is on the block. And I heard a report today that the Jets are in on DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver, doing everything they can to make Aaron Rodgers happy. Wouldn't that be something, seeing DeAndre Hopkins twice a year against Bill O'Brien, his arch nemesis?
Wow. Leave it to Jack Cavanagh to continuously just come on this podcast, do a little dance, and then wait till the bold prediction, and then just drop a bomb and just watch our faces melt. Every time we have him on, he's got something for us, which is why we love having you on the program.
Pleasure's all mine.
Yeah.
That would be insane. DeAndre Hopkins going to play with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes,
We just
Aaron Rodgers.
that deal's happening. All right, it's what a comedic situation that has become. So
Yeah.
are the reports of them not talking for weeks? Is that hooey? Is that actually true?
I believe it's probably true, and I believe it doesn't really matter at this point. They both know what the other is offering or the other wants. Where I think things will change, and I actually just posted this on TikTok, is when mandatory minicamp starts creeping up. If this doesn't happen before the draft, if this drags on, mandatory minicamp rolls around, the Packers cannot afford to have Aaron Rodgers show up. That's going to be hella awkward. The team's going to gravitate to Rodgers, even though Jordan Love is the actual starting quarterback. Packers can't afford that. So be careful, Green Bay. Do not overplay your hand, and I'm starting to think they have.
It just breaks my heart that, Green Bay is oh my God. This is so great. This is like the best year of my life. We got Yingling beer in Missouri, and the Packers are going to suck. Yes.
Not to. Oh, I'll save my bold prediction after the plug. I, alongside Aditya, will also be writing about the rookie guide. I will be taking on writing about 2 future stars that the breakout guide is pushing out. We'll talk about what the breakout guide says about these 2 players. Give you a little hint. We have talked about both of these players on this podcast already. It's not too much of a hint because we've talked about a lot of rookies in this podcast, but it's 2 of them. For my bold prediction, Seth,
Mm.
you're not going to be able to dance on the grave of the Green Bay Packers just yet because they are going to do something that they haven't done in quite a long time, and that is outwardly dedicate your entire process to setting up a offense for your quarterback to succeed.
Oh no.
They're going to draft multiple offensive weapons in this draft. They're going to draft a tight end. They might not draft one of the top 3 depending on the landing spot, but they will be selecting a first round pick on a wide receiver. And that wide receiver is Jordan Addison. By the time it gets to the Packers in the first round, I believe Jackson Smith and Jigba and potentially Zay Flowers will be already off the board. I think the Packers, Addison's been mocked to the Packers a couple of times. I think he's a scheme fit, although I'm not going to claim that I'm the best judge of that. But I can judge his talent and his advanced metrics and his prospect profile, which are all very glowing. And Green Bay is going to make a statement, and they're going to draft Jordan Addison, and they're going to put him alongside Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, and they're going to set up a high-powered offense for Jordan Love to lead out this season.
All right.
What do you think about that, Seth? What would you think about it?
Well, if I thought you were going to say that they're going to be the team that is the surprise team for Lamar.
Yeah, I mean that's more of crazy than bold. I've done crazy before. I thought about going just bold here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not afraid of Jordan Love. So bring it on. That's what I got to say. We have the better quarterback and potentially the better team because the Bears, and I know you guys have just been waiting for my Bears takes. So the Bears have, let's see here. I'm looking right at it, but I can't count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks in the draft. Oh my gosh. Something's going on here. I had an article pulled up, and then you know how you have an article pulled up and then a video just blurts out? I don't know if you could hear that, but anyway, this is good radio. So the Bears have 10 picks in the draft, right? They have 10 picks, and they have a lot of second and third rounders. So I think, and maybe this is just hope, I think the Bears might be willing to admit that it was a mistake to trade for Chase Claypool. Now, the process was good, right? But I'm wishing for it. He visited with the Bears. I really want Jaden Reed to be a Bear because I think that guy's an amazing player. And I think the in the second or late second, early third round, it might be a little bit early for him, but we'll see. I just think that highly of that guy. So there's my one Bears bold prediction. But my real bold prediction is that Roschon Johnson is going to find the landing spot that we want with Cincinnati. That's going to be the guy. Cincinnati's going to take Roschon Johnson. It's going to propel him above Zach Charbonnet. And I think Jack Cavanagh would be happy with that as well as a Bengals guy, right? A Joe Burrow guy. Yeah.
No complaints.
So I think that's going to happen because the NFL loves Roschon Johnson. They do, just like we do.
As they should. Seth, by the way, since humble Seth, he is the editor of this fine establishment known as playerprofiler.com. He is the mistake fixer. He's the one going through all of our articles, making sure everything's crisp and clean, no caffeine. Shout out to Sprite. Crisp and clean, error-free, and ready for the public. You can find all of his tweets at Seth_Diewold. Oh my God.
Diewold. It's okay.
I try and give you a good promo. I mess up your last name, of course. You can also find him on Mock Draft Live every now and then.
Yeah, where I destroy Aaron Stewart all the time. So, and that no good Aaron Stewart, we're gonna fix this for real. The mistake fixer on Tuesday night. So be there for Mock Draft Live less than a week, but about a week from now on Tuesday. Aaron Stewart and I we're gonna settle this before Mock Draft Mania. All right, so I'm calling you out again, Aaron Stewart. You no good bearded man, you with your stupid Rachaad White takes. Get out of here. Rachaad White is going to be a great player for fantasy football this year. So just get out of here with those stupid takes you have. All right. that is it for us. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. We couldn't do it without you. And till next time, as I'm struggling to find the end screen as I always do, we will see you later. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out playerprofiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.